Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to another scene set in the in A Death of the Dark. Oh, I said World of Dance. A Death of the Dark Crusade, Season 2. This fine evening, we set our scene once more in the residence of the Primogen of a clan of Ventrue, where a meeting of the clan itself is being held to discuss matters of importance and pertinence to the clan, considering recent events that have surrounded them, and to greet a guest from a neighboring domain about an issue that concerns the Ventrue and how they intend to work around that particular dichotomy. And the room itself, where everyone is meeting, is a rather fancy-looking room with Ventrue coat of arms and weapon plaques adorning the walls. A portrait at the backside of the room with the Primogen himself as the figure in the painting, and a round. A rather ornate round table in a fairly modestly sized room. The chairs are kind of like they're closer to thrones in a way. In that they're attached. They're attached to the floor. And are just these ornate wooden thrones with very high backs and very ornately made. And there's the one kind of at the back of the room, but at the top of the round table, which is clearly meant for the host or the Primogen or the leader of whoever would be at this round table, whatever organization would be at this round table, and that's where the Primogen will be. And there is a number of figures here. There's obviously the Primogen. There is Andrea, Ardelian. There is her sire, Siegfried. There is his second child, Winther. And an unfamiliar figure to any in the city, apart from perhaps the Ventrue, Camille, the new prince of Bera. Of course, there is a seat for Gerard as another prominent member of his clan. How much clan influence do you have, Gerard?
Three dots.
Okay, so yeah, you definitely have one of the sort of larger thrones at this table. The only two which are larger than yours is Siegfried's and Hermann's, of course. Hermann's is significantly more beautiful than everybody else's.
Well, it's his house.
It's literally his house. It's his estate, and also the fact that he's the Primogen. But the only one that actually supersedes yours is Siegfried's, who you know is his child, and probably has a lot of sway with him.
Well, you know, Gerard has a bit of a grandfather clause here, so that's the only reason. Yes, and the chairs and table are definitely made of mahogany.
I guess. Yes, and the Primogen. Actually, no, I should say this when the prince of another city enters, at least in name, if nothing else, and a member of their clan. You know, the Ventrue of the city will stand for a member of station, and will will greet her. I won't go through it because it's literally everyone saying, "Oh, my lady, oh, a good prince," blah blah blah.
We've got plenty of dots of etiquette. It's fine.
Yeah, everyone is wonderfully polite. It's Clan Ventrue. It's very hard for them to get this wrong. Really, it's how right can you get it? That's what it really is with Clan Ventrue.
Would you like me to roll etiquette to see?
Let's set us up a dice roller. Actually, should. Oh yeah, shit. What about your blood pool for this scene? I should have talked about that before we went into this.
As far as I know, my herd is fine because they're in the farmlands.
Oh yeah, that's right. You kept them all sheltered and shit.
So I've got like 4 dots, so 8. I think we decided it was now after the rules change.
They're still potentially vulnerable to plague, though. I think you still have to make a medicine check or find someone who does, who can do it. I don't know if you have any retainers who'd be adept at that.
I have retainers. I don't know if they would be adept at that.
Let me check real quick.
I mean, if nothing else, I have had Aldrich in my camp for a while, so
that's true. But it's every scene. You have 4 dots of it. I heard it says you have 3 here.
3, yes, 3. They used to count for 12. No, 9.
Yeah.
No, I forget.
Two blood per dot. It's basically twice as good as herd. Used to be 3 times as much. Now it's only 2. You do have. You have 3 retainers. Do you want to make? You haven't actually specified whether what their primary.
Well, I've got 1 in military, 1 in military, 1 in noble. And,
not their influence anchors, but their skill set, like social.
Well, yeah, but that's what I mean. Like that would kind of help determine what their things would be. Like 1 is a military guy, 1 is a noble, so social. Like I actually don't think that I've had that come up yet, so I can sell that out of the thing. If you want, I can just say I don't have anyone with medicine, but I might have a camp doctor that has medicine.
That's true. I mean, you have 2 dots of minions and 3 retainers, so and 3 dots of servants. So I'll just say for the purposes of the scene, you have enough out clauses to just.
Well, we'll get this.
You have 9 blood. It's fine.
We'll get this settled out of scene. Yeah. I'll do that afterwards.
What even is scene atmosphere? What's going on here?
Okay.
Yes, but after all the greetings are made, the Primogen will call the meeting into session.
Yes. What dice roll are we? Dice roll is 5.
Let's roll a 2.
Yes. Okay.
You're very good at this. You have 7 dice. Ooh. Well, I mean, 2 successes ain't bad. Very unlucky on those last 2 dice.
I mean, it's a prince, but like we're at the same level. We know this.
Yeah, and you ultimately succeeded on the road. So you're certainly not rude. It's just a case of perhaps you could have been a bit more polite, but at the end of the day, you're meeting the standard and then some. So yeah.
I mean, she's standing in the way of what I want. So
yeah, that too. Yeah, everyone will take their seat, and the Primogen will call the meeting into session. And Ladies and gentlemen, might I call this meeting into session? I would like to begin with congratulating Lord Gerard and good Lady Ardelean in their most recent successes, in addition to the new Prince of Bira, Camille. However, with recent advances being made, we have been met with new challenges, and it is time we decide how to address them. While we've been expanding our influence within the county, the Salubri have started to spiral out of control, even out of their own alliance. There is also the matter of the continued existence of Bira as a Ventrue controlled domain. The issue of this plague and how we can use it to rid ourselves of our rivals. There's a sort of like he kind of looks between you and Camille before continuing. We will start with perhaps the most pertinent matter, the issue of Bira.
Gerard knits his fingers together in his lap.
An offer has been made. Actually, would he know of your offer at all?
It depends on if Camille has been in contact with him. Or possibly Rosalie. Rosalie might have spoken with him.
Yeah, he'd probably be aware then. He'd also probably be a bit offended that he wasn't told and had to learn for it via proxy.
Well, I mean, I've been fighting battles, man.
I'm sure he'll understand. He'll tolerate it. Yeah, in which case he'll just continue. An offer has been made for an elder and trusted ally of Clan Toreador to claim the domain, hence gifting the domain back to the Toreador for a specific price and allowing us as a clan to continue to influence it via a reliable proxy weighted against the option of direct rule at the risk of seeming overt and facing additional vulnerability externally rather than the internal unrest that could occur if it were to be handed back to the Toreador. I would like to hear your opinions on this? He gestures to you and Camille. Obviously, you're the two most involved, and one of you is currently the prince of this domain. Sorry, not this domain, that of
The
Bira.
domain in question.
Yeah, the domain in question. We'll say that.
Gerard will gesture to Camille because she is prince. Make your case.
Hmm. In response to this query, I would argue that I already have a safe and stable court, and that the Canaanites of Bira unanimously back my rule. As has already been stated, introducing an elder of Clan Toreador would in the eyes of many be cause for uproar. The former prince was an elder of the same clan and was extraordinarily unpopular among all of them. Gifting the domain back to the Toreador after the domain had worked so hard to be rid of them would seem like a slap in the face to many. It would weaken the domain from within. It would cause it to be unreliable as a resource for the clan to rely on. Of course, I am aware that the Toreador are under better circumstances, perhaps less exceptional circumstances, staunch allies of our clan within this area. And it is not my wish to cause the clan any additional offence than it has already suffered. However, the fact remains is that the clan Toreador is largely unwelcome within Bira because of the former prince's actions and that of his child. And if this domain were to be returned to the Toreador, the Keeper Rosalie, if I recall correctly, as respected and powerful as I'm sure she is here, I must question if she would be able to single-handedly hold the court under thrall for any particular period of time if she would be forced into that position. And I am not confident that she wouldn't be. She kind of turns, well, the kind of look, like kind of gives the whole table a look. While Bira is indeed a court controlled by younger Canaanites, we must remember that Edessa too was like this once. And it survived and prospered all the same. And the court I possess is a capable and loyal one. Irrespective of age in this regard. And then she'll kind of turn to you as if, like, you're free to make a point.
Gerard tilts his head slightly and looks at everybody at the table and says, I must first say that I hold no ill will towards the residents of Bira, who have worked very hard to attain the status that they have. I rather admire the gumption it took to rise against the prince and his cronies. There are not many who have that sort of stern stuff within them. And I am also very, very keenly aware of the fact that, as of now, Clan Ventrue owns Bira. But I must posit the suggestion that perhaps a sacrifice of short-term position may end up moving into a very favorable long-term result. For instance, we cannot we cannot yet begin to know what the regional aims of the Toreador are. I am not so well informed. Perhaps some in the court are and would be able to tell me if I'm wrong, but a gesture of goodwill would likely go a long way in solidifying our grander alliance with Clan Toreador. It must also be considered that Clan Toreador does not have a very strong presence within Bira. Likely only what Rosalie takes with her. And while I have untold respect for Keeper Rosalie and all she has done for Edessa, I find that her absence with certain concessions would invariably strengthen our position in Edessa, which we can all agree is a much greater prize than Bira. Now, whether or not Rosalie is able to control the court over there makes no nevermind to anyone, does it? If she fails and is, I don't know, deposed by our plucky friends in Bira, what does it matter to us? We gave the gesture of goodwill. It was her weakness that lost the city, if that were the case, as Camille suggests might happen. And we have only to gain here in Edessa. The Toreador, the state of Clan Toreador in Edessa is erratic at best.
And Andrea kind of nods with that assertion as if she has a fairly strong understanding of what you're talking about. At least in regards to the Toreador and Edessa.
Now, I do not make assumptions about Lady Camille, Prince Camille, and her abilities as a leader. But if that were the case, if I were confident that the coming struggles would not require a stronger touch in defense of our domains, I myself might have taken control of Bira when I had the opportunity. If an Ancilla could fulfill that job. I do think that Bira would benefit from an elder's hand, and especially one as fair and generous as I know Rosalie's to be, especially with concessions to maintain the court as it is. get some experience under Fair Camille's belt, putting her in a prime position to take over should something unfortunate happen along the way. Nothing has changed in that regard. Camille is still the primary replacement. And so much more can be gained for just a little bit of our fair prince here's patience.
The existing court would require concessions made if control is to be ceded to Rosalie. She'll say elder Rosalie. Yeah, she's an elder. Or no, she'll say keeper because that is her official position.
Yes.
That's more relevant than her being a primogen, because she is not the primogen of the Ventrue, obviously.
I have no doubt of that. I would imagine that with a increase in station, Rosalie may be open to offering some concessions, especially given the volatile situation. And that very much hinges on her ability to take beer and make it a strong domain for the Toreador, who seem to be lacking otherwise in this area. And perhaps some from we fair Ventrue of Edessa. And he looks to Herman.
Herman Herman kind of nods as he understands what the ST is completely missing because he is bad and dumb.
Oh, I mean, if she's asking for concessions, like Gerard considers it to be completely on Rosalie for that. Like, the only reason that Gerard potentially has something to gain is directly from Rosalie and not necessarily from Bira. And even still, if Gerard isn't put like into the position of keeper, then or put up for position of keeper, then another Ventrue would be, and so it might just be more of a clan thing to make this happen if she needs concessions than directly himself. Is what Andrew is getting at, and Gerard. But maybe concessions just means guarantees from the possible incoming prince, at which point that would just sort of be on Rosalie. And
Yeah,
Gerard dare not tell Rosalie her business, so Herman might be able to do better in that regard. As the de facto representative of Clan Ventrue.
No, de jure. Of course, the clan would do its utmost to ensure as great a many guarantees could be made towards yourself with the transition of this domain potentially leaving your hands and entering the keepers. I have no doubt that you would desire a position for yourself so that you may represent the clan adequately, and that much of your court be left intact. She more or less nods an agreement as just says, yes, Primogen. And perhaps, in addition, the Ventrue of this city could extract some concessions of their own for granting the Toreador a domain that they had once so recently lost, and are so charitably regifting them. There's a hint of tenseness to her voice, as if she doesn't really like the idea.
Oh, but she's so young.
I mean, she's kind of as old as you.
I'm so young.
True. Fair. It's legit.
I have no bearing on what Clan Ventrue intends to extract from the deal. I would be more inclined to use it as an opportunity to foster goodwill rather than take more than we need. But that is ultimately up to Lord Herman. We are, of course, keeping an eye on the horizon and the struggles that are approaching.
We will work out the details of our demands at a more precise date. But I believe it would be fair to request some measure of compensation for the clan of Ventrue from this city, and obviously that much of your court remains as it is, as well as yourself remaining within it. I would have a dictate that you wouldn't say dictate, you say request that you pay heed for, as I'm sure you have become very much aware and are very experienced in this fact, that a prince without backers will not remain a prince for very long. It is likely that Rosalie will take some backers of her own into the city as to solidify and entrench her position. But this is give and take. But I believe with our direction on this matter decided, we may move on to the other matter of the salubri. Now, I'm sure most of you are aware, salubri have been engaged in several mortal conflicts recently, one of which involves you and your own armed forces, Gerard, as I know you are very much aware. As the plague has worsened, the Salubri have become more aggressive, and their healers more isolated. My own contacts among the clan inform me that there was a motion in Accra that has caused what remains of the bloodline to split, leaving them divided at a critical point. Left vulnerable by the occupation of an armed force and a plague that they are struggling to cope with at their doorstep. The question is how we continue to proceed from here, and who we should be predicting to act against us that is outside of the Salubri themselves. For it is no longer the Salubri that concern me in this particular matter. Every passing night they grow more vulnerable, more scattered, and far weaker than they once were. Their defeat is clearly only a matter of time. What matters is how we are to gain from their defeat, and how we intend to go about it. Let us focus on this city in particular. I'm sure that regardless of who controls Bira, that they will most certainly not have a welcome home there. Lord Gerard, your armed forces currently occupy much of their domain. What do you believe be apt?
As it stands, in the aftermath of the battle that was fought there, they have not made any overt attempts to retake their grounds. With the city's offer, I would wager that I have broken their influence over the Odessan military. Whether that comes from the prince or the seneschal or whomever is not known to me. But it would seem obvious that they've been weakened in that regard. We have also a prisoner that we have taken, one of the Salubri Primogens, Childer.
You speak of Ricard, the child of the warrior Primogen, Tabris. I believe it is his only child left in the city. I do recall him having additional child a few decades ago, but they have since been removed from the situation, largely by Clan Tremere.
There is a interesting wrinkle with this particular individual. He is the one that I caught violating the Setite domain shortly after my return to Odessan politics.
You're talking about Isaac. That's the neonate you caught.
Yeah, I didn't know we had. I didn't know we had Ricard.
No, you don't have Ricard. You're able to spar him. You're able to scry him. With
Okay.
Help. Sorry,
So
my bad. I got confused.
I don't have a childer.
You don't have the childer of the
Tabris.
of Tabris. No, you probably have some great grandchild or something.
Right.
Maybe if you're lucky, he might be of a different lineage entirely. You don't really know.
Right.
But he's definitely a Salubri. He
Yes.
has the third eye, and he's almost certainly a warrior based on his bearing.
But we have the perpetrator of an attack on Setite domain. I would recognize his face anywhere. I'm not sure if that can be leveraged or if it even matters, but it is a thing that exists. Perhaps simply even getting what he knows from him would be of value.
If they are intelligent, they would have told one who owes the Setites very little. But his knowledge prior to that may be of value. We still have yet to identify several Salubri havens, and obviously, in spite of their brutish and uncouth bearing, they no doubt have proxies of their own, allies and backers to varying degrees.
There is also the matter of during the battle, and Siegfried can attest to this, Lord Siegfried can attest to this, the Salubri Primogen quite explicitly broke the silence. Slaughtered an entire division of my men single-handedly, sent them flying with unnatural and unholy strength. The survivors, there are many witnesses.
Yes, we will have to work to mitigate the fallout of that particular situation.
I've already begun efforts on that front. But perhaps it can be used politically for what remains of their presence at court.
Very little. Their healers rarely show themselves, and the warriors are too violent to be much, well, to be much loved at court. Few even come anymore. Most stopped coming when the plague struck the city. No doubt with your occupational force, they are slowly starving themselves into torpor.
That is the brunt of what I have discovered.
An isolated incident of a single neonate breaching domain is one thing. However, an entire clan spreading out across the city because they cannot maintain and control their own domain is another.
If nothing else, the Tremere will have a great interest in the prisoner if we cannot gain anything useful from him or negotiate with his return or whatever. I'm sure that they would like to, the Tremere would like to walk away for their assistance with something of value to them. So it's not a lost cause either way.
Perhaps then we could slowly drive them from their own domain in a state of hunger, and when they do, we come in to repair what they have broken.
We are in
They
a. Go ahead.
They would also be in direct violation of the city's treaty if they were to directly succumb to their hunger.
We are in a unique position to repair the city when all is said and done.
Then perhaps we can work on expanding the situation that you have created. Many of us here, being who we are, have great sway among those of great station in the mortal world and those of smaller station. The City Watch in particular is spread thin. We could draw them, more of them, into other domains, other areas. Making feeding not just more difficult and more challenging in the face of an already dire situation for many, not just for the Salubri, but for the rest of our rivals, such as the Tismisi. The fiends that prattle on about their domains and criners, even so far from home.
With the Salubri on the brink of extinction in the area, and if we were to sow more discord among the Tzimisce, then perhaps the entire suffocating alliance system might wither and die from their own doing, leaving us in a strengthened position as well as a moral position. I know that the Cappadocians have made overtures to me. And thus we might be able to start leveraging out obstacles in our way, such as the Seneschal of Clan La Sombra and the Assamites, who would be left in a uniquely weakened position without their allies. though they may find others. We are free to pursue alliances as we see fit, should the true heirs break.
That is a concern of mine, that Philosombra they've been very active, but I've heard very little from their primogen. Once the Salubri break, the treaty that keeps this city in its current state will become far more fragile. It goes without saying that most clans of any value will have prepared for this eventuality. I am certain that Losombra have already done so.
And from a free position to do so, no less.
Indeed. The question is in what manner. They're most likely planning to realign once this treaty falters. They will most likely already have new allies ready to back them. The question becomes which ones. This would be a matter worth investigating if we are to effectively compete with them in the months to come. In which case, we should be consulting the primogen of our own allies to see what we can discover of the Losombra's recent activities and that of our raw traditional rivals. I would also urge that you discuss the matter with your own colleagues of the other clans.
We can assume that the alliance between ourselves, the Tremere, and more grudgingly, lately, the Toreador, would be fairly solid, although I doubt if Rosalie were to leave, Clan Toreador would be able to bring much to bear, although the Tremere seem to be growing stronger, thanks to our aid. If I can sway the Cappadocians away from their self-serving Bruja and Lasombra allies, they would be a very strong ally in the region, considering how much they hold, including the princedom of Edessa. Also, there are Malkavians that my friends among the Tremere have seemed to have gotten in bed with.
Who in particular?
The Ancilla Garnet and his protege.
I have something. Actually, she will say, excuse me for the interruption. I have something of an arrangement with Garnet as it stands, as much as it brings me distaste.
What sort of arrangement?
He has agreed to an unspecified amount of major boons in exchange for access and opened doors to the aristocracy of his city. She gives a very slight, pleasant smile.
Gerard arches a brow. Hopefully not pursuant to my interests in Clan Montfort as they were before.
I have made it quite clear to him what is out there just asking to be his and what is very much not.
Excellent. Well, perhaps through this arrangement we might be able to bring Clan Malkavian to heel. He has but one Ursula, but I've seen worse damage done with less. Though exactly what Clan Malkavian can provide is, as always, nebulous.
They are unpredictable, and I would not make the assumption that I have Garnet under any degree of control, regardless of what he may owe to me. But he is a useful resource for the moment, if nothing else. A contact and useful distractions for the other clans to worry about. Although I would be reticent to allow him to gain too much control over any one part of cities, political circles.
My friend Aldrich has informed me that perhaps our interests align. So, with these conditions, there's a possibility that we may be able to extract some use in a more long-term arrangement. But either way, considering our options, I think that the main agenda should be, in terms of the other clans, should be attempting to sway Clan Cappadocian to our side.
Yes, if Rosalie is to leave the city, it would leave one of our allies quite vulnerable and us in a weaker position here, would it not? Would be very much worth wooing Prince's clan.
I have little doubt that should more overt hostilities begin in the future, that a play may be moved to use the prince's apathy against him and somehow remove him from power by those who surround him.
I fear the same. But as with all things, in the wake of the treachery of others, it will be to us to pick up the pieces and make something of the city. Speaking of which, I had heard that your own armed force had returned to the fold.
I was given a very generous offer and no demands to stop. I have my doubts as to the validity of their threats, but if they're not making me cease what I'm doing, which is effectively bleeding the Salubri dry, and also providing Clan Ventrue with a tidy profit, then I see no reason not to accept their offer, Pyrrhic as it may be.
Perhaps then I have my own ties to the city's military. I could provide a reserve force if you are to ever face betrayal, or while the city is so concerned with your own army that the rest of the clan works on constructing its own to apply pressure elsewhere.
Akka, perhaps?
Oh, what did you say?
Akker, perhaps?
Potentially a long journey. And as much as I do not like to admit it, the Salubri are still respectable within that city. It is perhaps their one true domain that they have left to them. Perhaps a moment to be used to apply pressure to a clan nearby. Maybe the gangrel or Udismisi. But if there are no targets, then yes, we could use it to seize control of another domain. Follow in the footsteps of my peers.
I do believe that whatever the case may be, the powers that be in the city, whether that be the prince or the seneschal, has effectively sanctioned my activities. I do feel as though that is an opportunity to use it to their advantage. After all, nothing goes unnoticed, especially from officials so high in the city's ranks, mortal or not. I do not intend to rest on my laurels forever. However, once the Salubri have been put to a terminal state, I intend to consolidate what remains of my own forces with the cities, as I've been given considerable sway, and of course, you have considerable sway of your own. Enough influence leveraged, and I do not think that that force will be able to be wrested away from us easily.
Indeed. And I very much agree that once your force has served its purpose, there would be no need for it to remain in the field, resting without profiting. It would merely be a burden on you.
The thought had also crossed my mind that once this time comes, I fold them back into the main city's forces. I can take the more loyal soldiers, ones that fought directly under me, and insert them into the city watch and begin wresting influence that way.
A wise choice. With your assistance, we would be able to seize and maintain full control over the entire city watch.
That is the goal. It may take some time, but we have plenty of that as of
Indeed.
now.
Are there any matters anyone else wishes to bring to the table?
I think.
No, don't worry, you're plenty of time.
Don't think so.
Oh, what do you know?
I think that's it.
Then I believe we can call this meeting to a close. Prince Camille, you are a welcome guest within my residence, or as long as you need to remain here. I hope your stay will be a pleasant one. And she'll simply kind of nod very politely at him. And yeah, everyone, after being told they can leave, will slowly begin to filter out and do so.
Don't worry, Camille. All we youngins in the desk had our power taken away too. No big deal.
It's no big deal, right? Everything's fine. Yes.
And that's that.
And that will be that. I believe where we can end this particular meeting of Ventrue. As I actually begin to this yeah, this as it's known, because I should not be terrible and call it by its proper name. This Veruja of Ventrue, or Jerusa.
Get it together, Chris. Come on.
I gotta get it together. I gotta use all the fancy Roman land terms, or Greek terms. I don't even know. They're really old,
Yes.
and that is where we'll end our scene. Thank you, player, for playing. Thank you, watchers, for watching. We'll see you next time.